welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a closer look behind the scenes, specifically at dairy factories.
Yeah, it's a fascinating area.
It really is. We're talking about something you probably don't think much about, the health checks for employees. Our sources lay out how these programs are, well, pretty crucial.
Absolutely. They're not just for the workers' health, which is important, obviously, but they're just as vital for keeping the milk, cheese, yogurt, everything safe for you, the consumer.
So it's a dual purpose, really.
Exactly. There are kind of two big buckets of risk here. First, food safety risk, basically stopping workers from accidentally contaminating the product.
Right.
And second, occupational risk. That's about protecting the workers themselves from, job-related injuries or illnesses.
Makes sense.
And the whole system is generally split into two phases. Checks before someone starts, the pre-employment ones, and then annual checks once they're working there.
Okay, let's unpack that. Starting with the pre-employment check. What's the main goal there, especially, if someone's going to be directly handling food?
Well, the pre-employment screening is absolutely fundamental. It's partly about checking if someone is physically up to the job, sure.
Okay.
But the really critical part, screening for infectious diseases, things that could pass into the dairy products.
So catching potential problems before they even get near the production line.
Precisely. Imagine an undetected carrier of something like salmonella. The consequences could be huge recalls, illness, massive brand damage.
Wow, yeah.
So these initial checks are literally the first defense. Plus, they give us a baseline, a starting point for that person's health.
That baseline idea is interesting. So digging into the specifics, our sources mentioned a few key tests. Why are things like a stool examination checking for bugs, like Salmonella, E. coli, why is that so vital for everyone in production right away?
Because those specific pathogens, they can be carried by people who feel perfectly fine, completely asymptomatic.
Right, they wouldn't even know.
Exactly, and they can shed the bacteria, potentially contaminating food. Same logic applies to the hepatitis A test. It's often spread through contaminated food or water.
Okay, that makes sense. What about other specific tests?
Well, there's a special one, brucellosis. That's tested mainly in workers who might handle raw milk directly, because that's the specific exposure route.
Tailored even at the start.
Yes. And then there's usually a chest x-ray too, mainly looking for tuberculosis, which is more of a general public health screen, but still important.
Got it. So that's the gateway check. But then people are working there maybe for years. The risks must change depending on their specific job, right? The annual checks aren't just a repeat performance.
No, absolutely not. That's a key point. The annual health exams are much more tailored. They focus on the specific hazards someone encounters in their particular role or department.
Okay, so it gets really targeted.
Very targeted. It has to be effective and efficient. You're monitoring ongoing or new risks relevant to that job.
Let's look at some examples then, because this is where it gets interesting. Our sources mention audiometry, hearing tests.
Right. That's for people working in noisy environments. Think packaging lines or near those big homogenizers.
The machines that make milk smooth.
Exactly. If the noise level is consistently over 85 decibels, which is roughly like loud traffic, you need regular hearing checks.
Okay, what else?
Then there's spirometry. That's a lung function test.
For breathing risks.
Yes. For workers potentially exposed to chemicals, maybe the acids and alkalis used in the big cleaning in place or CIP systems.
Those automated washing systems for pipes and tanks.
That's them. Or exposure to dust, like, say, in areas where they handle milk powder.
Now, what about the physical side of things? Lifting, repetitive tasks.
Good point. Musculoskeletal examinations are important there. For workers doing heavy lifting, like moving big bags of ingredients, or lots of repetitive motions, maybe on a packaging line, checking for strain, potential injuries.
And skin issues. Dairy work can be wet, involve chemicals.
Yep. Skin examinations are key. Looking for dermatitis, which could be caused by chemical exposure, just constant wetness, or even allergies to gloves.
So really covering all angles.
Yeah.
And I assume the stool exam comes back annually too.
Yes. The recommendation is typically annual stool examinations for all production staff. It's about maintaining that food safety vigilance.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, beyond the scheduled tests, what else do the experts recommend?
Well, two big things come up. Vaccinations are strongly recommended, particularly hepatitis A again, and tetanus for production staff.
Right.
But maybe even more crucial is ongoing health education. Training staff on proper hygiene hand washing sounds basic, but it's critical.
Absolutely.
And importantly, teaching them why they must report any illness immediately. If they have diarrhea, a fever, even an infected cut on their hand, they need to tell their supervisor right away and, crucially, stop handling food.
So empowering the employees to be part of the safety net.
Exactly. It's a shared responsibility.
Okay, so putting this all together.
Yeah.
What's the big takeaway here? How does this connect to the factory as a whole?
Well, one final recommendation that really ties it together is the idea of safety officers doing a regular walk-through survey.
Getting eyes on the actual workspace.
Yes. Not just looking at checklists, but physically observing the environment, the tasks, the potential hazards.
Yeah.
This makes sure the health program is truly tailored to that specific factory, not just a generic plan. It keeps it relevant.
So it's clear these health programs are far more detailed and dynamic than just a simple yearly checkup. They're multi-layered. Very specific.
They really are. And what's fascinating, I think, is when you realize that investing in employee health in this context isn't just about HR or compliance. It's not even just about keeping workers safe, though that's vital.
It's more direct.
It's a direct investment in the quality and the safety of the final product that reaches the consumer. It builds trust, protects the brand sustainably. And that leaves us with a thought, doesn't it? Where else, maybe in industries we don't immediately think of, is employee health so directly linked to product quality and safety? It turns the idea of worker wellness into potentially a core component of product excellence itself.